Mr. John Wolf, I don't know if you've heard about this thing. And if you haven't, please say you haven't so I can blow your mind out of the back of your skull here, sir.
No. Ever since I got the ROG Ally, I've been kind of turning the blind eye to... Yeah, I've been turning my attention away from stuff, from buying more stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Understood. Of course, as you should. If I'm not mistaken, you were also the owner of the one known as the old what is it called, the Logitech G Cloud. Am I wrong?
Yes.
Okay. How much you pay for that G Cloud for, by the way? Let me just ask.
Man, that sucker, I think after I used some of that Latino Heat discount, I think I got it for $199 at the time.
Ooh, $200.
Yeah, but that was after using some coupons.
So normal retail price though?
I think it was $350, right? Well, $299 launch and then $350.
And $350, yes. Okay. So this is by a company called I guess it's Ayn, AYN, and they make the Odin brand. And you probably have seen the handheld before, right? This is a mainly Android-based handheld, so it kind of more is in line with something like a G Cloud than with, like, say, your Steam Deck or your ROG Ally, right? But that's where the similarities end in the operating system, because this sumbitch is going to feature some amazing specs for $299, I should say, for $299.
Okay, what are we looking at here?
Yes, this will have the same CPU specs as the new Galaxy S9. I think it's an S9 tablet, the top of the line S9 tablet, which goes right now. The cheapest version is like $800.
Wow!
Like, yes, it is the top of the line stuff. I mean, the CPU in here is what you put in a phone that minimum retails for $800, and they're selling this for $299.
Okay, so from a gaming, let's talk about from a gaming perspective here. What are we talking about? Are we talking about possibly up to PS2 here? Is that what we're looking at?
Possibly. Here? Oh, actually, more than that. I mean, what are you talking about? And by the way, shout out to him, ETA Prime. He also did a video. It's playing on the screen right now. Love that guy. He always does great stuff. So check out his videos. Very cool handheld, retro, PC centric stuff too. So ETA Prime. I'll put this video in the show notes when it's done. So shout out to him. But to answer your question directly, so what I expect here should be more akin to possibly PS3. Like, wow. It should get there. Yeah, because even your G Cloud, which was kind of a slouch when we were talking about the whole when it came to like real raw power or whatnot, right? It was really focused to be a cloud computing, cloud gaming device mainly. But when you put the what's the name of the launcher of the gaming launcher of choice, Daijisho, when you put the Daijisho launcher on there.
Yeah, that launcher is awesome, by the way.
It's awesome, right? And when you start launching, when you start playing the retros, I got all the way up to Wii with mine. These days, my children enjoy themselves some Double Dash, some Mario Kart Double Dash whenever we're in the car and we need to shut them up.
Let me tell you something.
The G Cloud, you know what I mean?
That swung harder than we thought it was originally going to, because we thought that a very light GameCube. Light GameCube. So I thought that was and very light PS2. So I'm surprised that you were able to get up to Wii with that.
It does well. It does actually very well. So with that in mind, this thing's supposed to. I expect this will be somewhat of a banger, because that is a what you could consider an economy chip versus this is a flagship, baby, like the SoC perspective. Anyway,
that's pretty good. Yeah. And the price seems.
To see this thing.
Yeah, I like the price. I think it's very aggressive. I've heard of the Odin devices. Usually, they usually get good reviews. They're not known to be powerhouses, but I don't think that's what they're going after.
Don't get me wrong, okay? I see some people in here already pulling some cards. Shout out to you, good sir. When I say PS3, it's because a lot of and there's very specific PS3 games I'm talking about that are very notoriously difficult to emulate because it was very badly optimized. Yeah. Right. So like there's like what do you call it? And even on my 4090, sometimes you get drop frames, and like I actually saw it not run righteous on 3080s and things. Certain PlayStation 3 games, but needless to say, I'm expecting that the overhead on this Snapdragon, which yes, it's a Snapdragon processor. I actually expect it should be almost the same Snapdragon as the one that is supposed to be inside a lot of the latest flagship processors, a lot of the flagship phones coming out. I expect this to be pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing the market. I'm looking forward to seeing the GPU that they pair with this thing, but it's for another day.
The market's opening up, in a way that we kind of thought and kind of saw it coming. And one of our early episodes, we talked about how, devices like the Steam Deck, which is really the catalyst for all this, was just gonna just bring in all these contenders and competition and different devices across different companies. And more importantly, it looks like the prices on these suckers are going down because they need to compete. So that's now,
let's be clear though. Let's be clear. As I hear it, that is early bird pricing. So if this is interesting to you, you may want to kind of keep your eye open. Let's just say a certain content creator did or did not put his email in here for frequent updates. I'm just saying, but yeah, I expect that once it retails, it'll probably be not twice the price, but it will be a bit more expensive.
Yeah, and I see our usual suspects, Kirby Zero Louise in there already cooking the Snapdragon, calling it the Crap Dragon. I mean, that's a good cook, but it's not as good as of a cook as Gamers Nexus pulled on Linus Tech Tips today.
Oh, okay. Oh, no. We ain't going for that smoke. That smoke was all right, and it's the best kind of smoke too, because it's righteous smoke. Oh boy, it was. If you haven't seen that video, you need to wait until this stream ends and go seek that out. Shout out to Gamers Nexus. Yes, I am a fan. I'm a big fan of Gamers Nexus.
I can smell that Linus barbecue. It's coming in through the speakers.
It was roasting, bro. It was roasting. Anyway,
it was good, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Gamers Playground. This is the show where myself and Mr. Caliente Italian Heat over here,
Hot Chip Challenge,
your Hot Chip Challenge man over here, try to demystify the crazy monolith known as PCMR. Because frankly, it's ridiculous. It's a bunch of folks playing games. We play games everywhere. We enjoy playing games, and PC gives you a bunch of good offers, the options to be able to do interesting things. And that's why we're here, to talk about those options.
And the thing
this week, actually, to talk about the limitations. Isn't that right, Mr. John Wall?
Yep. That's what we purposely named the show this week, Limitations, because there's a lot of back and forth going around in the gaming community with certain brands, like the Xbox Series S, the PS4 still kind of being in that space where developers still need to develop for. So we're going to be covering that. And more importantly, I think more than ever, this show is so important because there's a lot of people, that I just see having the same complaints and the same conversations over and over again. And I just tell myself, God, I'm so glad I'm not dealing with that anymore, because it's not even worth it. Because while you're worried about, these companies, making games for Series S and 30 FPS, stuff like that, I'm just worried about, hey, is this thing going to have, am I going to be able to get to 120, 140 frames on this game? That's kind of like what I'm worried about here. So it's a nice change of pace. I'll tell you that much.
I see your nose up in the air, sir. I see you there sipping your tea with a pinky in the air.
Yeah,
I
man.
see what you're doing there, sir.
Look, man, it's just that the conversation, when you're ready, when you're fortunate enough to kind of, not be in that non-missionary headspace, it completely changes your perspective, brother. Completely changes it. So
anyway, so let us start the show by first and foremost thanking all the wonderful people that we see in here. Some of the same heads that come in here and torture us on a weekly basis are here. And for you, we are grateful, ladies and gentlemen. It is awesome to have you guys here. I will say shout out to, of course, Kirby Zero Louise, who's in here. Tide Talks, I see you in here. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh,
sir.
Man, hold on. Before you go, man, let me tell you something. This past weekend, that show was epic, dude. I know that Everborn wasn't. He's out traveling somewhere. On vacation.
You mean Everborn luscious, lavish vacation?
Yeah.
you should see his timeline. It's just like, get out of here, sir.
I've been seeing. I'm a little jealous. I ain't gonna lie. What was this called? But Ty and Web Dave, shout out to them. They came in, man, and they did a great job. That conversation brought out some Latino out of Web Dave. Okay, I never seen Web Dave so spicy. It was good, man. I really enjoyed it, man, and I think that me and you talked about this a little bit. I think that Ty is such a great community member because he's exactly he's exactly the type of community member that we're all asking questions, asking the right type of questions, and someone Ty, just like all of us, has his preference, but he's still interested in dipping his toes in different ecosystems and stuff like that, and he's a gamer, man, at the end of the day. So that's awesome.
I will even challenge that and say he actually is an admitted, and that's the reason why I like having Ty on, right? Because people will be critical of various platforms, Xbox, PlayStation, or whatever, right? And then you check the receipts, and they may or may not have the receipts for it. Check Ty's receipts, ladies and gentlemen. The man's YouTube channel is beyond reproach. I love the content he puts out there, right? I love the fact that, people always like have a problem saying things like, oh, you have no right to speak on these issues because maybe you don't play those games. When I asked him what games he was playing, he said he was playing Halo.
Yep.
Right. And every time you check the site, lots of really interesting, and the man plays his games. Now, the reason why I bring him on and the reason why I love his voice in this community is because where in his neck of the woods, Xbox may not be representing correctly, right?
Correct.
They may not be speaking to him. So someone like him in that location is rare. Somebody who's an Xbox player in a location that's all PlayStation, right? So he's got something that he's looking at from his neck of the woods. So I appreciate him coming on and letting folks know that it's not everything like America, right? So other places have different situations that possibly your favorite brand needs to work on. So
exactly,
shout out to him. It's awesome. Yeah.
And that's a cheap plug for this past weekend show of the Gaming Circle podcast. And I was not on the show, but I did want to leave him some parting words. You said you're interested in getting a PC, sir, so that you didn't have to settle for the frames and all that. Do it. You won't regret it. Trust me.
Yeah.
I jumped in and I don't regret it.
You can agree. Absolutely. I think on that we can absolutely agree. It just gives you more options, man. It just, then you don't have to, if your machine can't run it, oh, well, there's this other machine. Now, see, this is my world now, right? Like, whereas people go, oh, this thing sucks, and you just get mad and you pout, right?
Yeah.
Before, I had a 1080 Ti. I had a 1080 Ti for 7 years. I built a liquid-cooled 1080 Ti, so I built it. I had a water block, all custom, like it was my baby, right? Custom. I had it in SLI format for a while, which was stupid. I had two. I got the second one off of eBay. Had them in SLI, the whole thing, like advanced PCMR. Let's go, right? But I had that for like 7 years, and during that time, I went from living high on the hog to mid-range to okay, I think it's time I may need to upgrade, right? Right?
So, like, oh, the game's running at 65 frames. Come on, man.
But to this day, I will still say, if you have a 1080 Ti, you're still playing all of these games.
Wow.
You are still playing Cyberpunk. Yeah, you may be playing it at 720p, but you're still playing Cyberpunk.
I think
it is
you're
still
right.
a very capable card.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think that there's another content creator that I was watching a couple of weeks ago, and she had a 1080 Ti, and she was still able to play a lot of the games 1080p now. Don't get me wrong,
bro.
Still,
I had my 1080 Ti for 7 years, and then sold it for more than I paid for it when I first bought it.
Wow,
it was a great card, absolutely.
Supremacy. I'm sorry. I was going to say Supremacy. I always had bad experience with PC. Sorry to hear that, brother. I mean, I know that PC gaming gets that stigma, but it kind of, man, I don't know.
Let's tease that out a little bit. Supremacy. Hit us with some examples. Like, what did you buy? A pre-built? Was this like a Dell? Was this like what was it? And how did it have issues? Was it somebody that built it for you? Because unfortunately, there is a drawback to that, right? On your console side, you are extreme convenience. You plug it in, you hit play, it's playing. But if it's not playing, your hands are in your sitting down on your hands, and you're waiting for somebody to make it play, right?
Right.
Whereas in our space, there's a lot of mushy middle, but you can also do a lot there, right? You can fix a lot that you might find broken. So hit us with some examples. We might be able to, steer you in certain different directions, or times have changed a lot, right? So a lot of the conveniences of console have also come to PC. So that might change your equation if you were to look at it today. You know what I'm
saying? Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a bit. And let's talk about the old backlog, because I know we have this segment that has a very ridiculous name that I love saying every time I say it. It is called the Backlog Brothers.
I gotta get a little sound for that on the soundboard.
And for this week, for that Backlog Brothers segment, we decided to play. I asked you to play Sleeping Dogs. One of my favorite I even hate saying it's old school, because come on, Sleeping Dogs is old school. I guess it's the oldest of the new school, if you will, right? There was a time where everyone had to have their GTA clone, and this was the latest GTA clone du jour. But I contend that this was the best version of the GTA clone. Still to this day. What are your thoughts? What was your experience playing it?
Yeah, as I mentioned last week, I had originally played this too during the 360 days. I think that this game was pretty much, and I know that in recent weeks I've played True Crime New York, and then I didn't play True Crime LA, but I did play it back in the day. This is kind of like them kind of perfecting the formula, because this is United Front Games, a defunct group now. Unfortunately, they're not around anymore, but this is a culmination of years of games being brought out in that genre, and then finally graduating to that we're here level, you know what I mean? And the game, it follows kind of like the same formula, where they try to be more of a down to earth GTA. And what I mean by that is that they're more kind of like your HBO drama series. That's kind of like the focus that they have. But the thing about these games, and each individual one of the cool things about it is that it has the charm of the setting. And this game, just like True Crime New York, just like the LA one, this one really, really gives you that Hong Kong flavor.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, they do all sorts of things. Like, for example, the mini games are centered around karaoke stuff and eating and all sorts of sushis and different things like that to power up. And the really cool thing that I've enjoyed the most about this game, because I want to say like 3 hours in the past week on it as I progressed, and I kind of was remembering my first playthrough of it, was, man, that fighting system, it gives Batman Arkham, it gives him a challenge there. Okay,
and it was before Arkham, so some of these things kind of tell you where your roots are, right? This was before Arkham. And actually, to your point on the whole game aesthetic itself, the karaoke, the mini games, the fighting in the streets, what does that remind you of? Like a Dragon.
Yes.
This was before that too.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out where some of these guys took the Yakuza series. Yes. Which, fun fact, Yakuza means like a dragon. People go, whoa, you've changed the series from Like a Dragon, from Yakuza to Like a Dragon. They just translated the name. It's now called Like a Dragon. It's the same thing. Needless to say, you're absolutely right. Continue, sir. Yes. Give me more comparisons.
And the bad look. Let me tell you about United Front Games, because I didn't remember them that much, to be honest with you. And then when I started looking at some of the games they've worked on,
theirs is a tragic story, but they had great,
very tragic. They really did. I mean, look, they worked on things for the PS3. Remember Mod Nation Racers, which was their answer to Mario Kart, using the little PlayStation avatars. They worked on Little Big Planet Karting, which which again was another solid outing by them. Of course, Sleeping Dogs, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. They actually had their hand in that. Okay, and that they didn't make the game, but they helped on the Definitive Edition. How about this one? This will hit close to home. They actually did some work on Halo: The Master Chief Collection.
They did.
Okay, and Disney Infinity. Okay, back Disney Infinity was huge, man. Okay, with all those figures and stuff like that. And this is the sad tragedy of it. Canceled before we didn't get to see where they were heading to next. But Sleeping Dogs 2, man, it was actually something that they were working on, and unfortunately, you know Square and their projections, they weren't too happy with with the sales of the original, and you know how Square is. Square's gonna do Square.
Them and their notorious projections. Jesus.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a shame, but again, it just goes to show you that this is the type of games like this. It really brings out the best, I think, for the next iteration of GTA. GTA probably picked some stuff up from this game and had to learn. Like you mentioned, this game was doing things earlier than like the Arkham game, like you mentioned, and it did it real well, man. The voice acting, just like every true crime game, is on point. They got some good voice talent on there. That's something that I think that, to be honest with you, Grand Theft Auto probably picked up on when they saw the quality and the level of these games. They're like, hey, we got to pick it up on our end a little bit because ours is a little bit too cartoony. So that's something that they did really well, man. And just again, you follow the path of an undercover agent trying to infiltrate like a gang and trying to get in, good with them so that you can bring them down ultimately. But you do wacky and zany things as either you kind of thread the line between good cop and bad cop, and it's pretty good, man. I really recommend it, and anyone hasn't tried it out, give it a try.
And that story was awesome. The combat was great. Like it was just fun roaming around in that world, and it wasn't like a standard world you'd been on. Believe it or not, the thing that really like got me in this game was everything was in my head backwards, because obviously in Hong Kong they drive on the opposite side of the road.
Yes,
you had to get used to in your head driving on the opposite side of the road. It was just like it's just crazy.
Talk to me about those massage parlors. Did you hit those up? If you know what I'm saying.
We're not talking about the massage parlors. Let's move on.
Hit up a couple of those massage partners, right?
No, but and I don't know if you ever got a chance to dip into the DLCs, because the later versions of the game, like the definitive versions, actually, and right now, if you have not done so, anybody, go out to your deals.gg and buy this game immediately. Add it to your Steam library. It comes with all the DLC. Like they had a whole thing where they had a DLC where they did Thriller, like Michael Jackson's Thriller with
really
no. They did that, and then they did Little Trouble and Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh wow!
I didn't thing in that where the whole DLC
I did not know that.
Like, and you can get it in the DLC. They're all there, and all the costumes are different. You can change his costume to
Big Trouble in Little with Kirk Douglas, the predecessor to Mortal Kombat.
You won't see Kirk Douglas in it. Let me just tell you. But the whole thing is Big Trouble in Little China with the costumes and everything. Like,
I gotta try that out, dude. I didn't even know that was part of the package. Wow.
Oh yeah, they have so many cool DLCs. You can be Jensen from what do you call it? The Square the other Square Square IP that they haven't used in a million years.
Hold on, Jensen. You're talking about it's flipping on me too. I know what you're talking about.
Come on, people in the chat, hit me off. His name is Jensen. He's a cyborg. He lives in a world where cyborgs are oppressed, and it's an RPG. You can take multiple paths to.
I can't believe I don't remember this either. Hold on, it's like
the tip of my tongue.
I know what you're talking about though.
Where you can talk your way through almost any battle. It's also very good. You can skin yourself as him in this game as well, and a bunch of other stuff. So it's a very awesome game, and they threw a lot of DLC at it. Ooh, I see the man Slow-Mo Backslappers in here. Shout out to you, good
Slow-Mo.
Sir. We should get you on here one of these days. Talk that PCMR stuff. I know you know what I'm talking about. Get you back on here. It's good to see you, sir. No, it's not Detroit Become Human. It's older than that. What game is it again? He's asking. Dang it! Now I gotta go look it up. I have.
Yeah, I'm doing that as we speak because I can't believe I don't remember this. Hold on.
It's a Western RPG from Square. So it's that rare. Western RPG from Square. Bonus points to anybody who gets the name. But anyway, it's about, it's an allegory for life. You got the people who are special, but they get ostracized for it. They happen to be cyborgs.
You're talking about Nier.
No, not Nier.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Nier this whole time.
No. Square. See, now you're gonna make me do the thing you shouldn't do during podcasting. Which
I thought you were talking about Nier this whole time. That's what I was looking for, because I had it like at the tip, but it's not that. Is it
Square Western Games? Or am I? Is it Square? I think it's Square. I'm confused between Square and Ubi, but I'm pretty sure it's Square. Like, think of an IP that Square has not brought out in many iterations. I think the
Zombie Controls. This is Sleeping Dogs. Version. This is Sleeping Dogs, brother.
Okay. That's what they're looking for. Okay. But no, let's move on, and I will remember it and regale us with it when it inevitably comes to.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Nier, the Nier franchise, where they're like robots and stuff like that. But no, that's not what you're.
No, that's not what I'm referring to.
Okay,
it's a franchise that has had many games in its IP.
We owe the chat an IOU. IOU.
Yeah, we owe the chat an IOU. It's been dead for a while now, and actually, you know what? We should play trivia. This should be it, and I know it because when the minute somebody tells me, I'll be like, "Yup, that's the one." It's been dead for a long time now. When you think of Ubisoft, you think of games like what do you call it?
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed. Old titles with
Prince of Persia.
Exactly right. This is one of the Square titles, like one of the key Western Square titles. Tomb Raider being one, right? And I say Western because their Eastern stuff everybody knows well. This is Western stuff. And Slomo was asking what platform did it come on. Ultimately, it came on every platform. This is an IP that has had a revision of itself on almost every platform. But I will look it up and we will get back to it. But let us move forward, because I find it interesting that one of our members in our chat has brought up a great idea. Our next Backlog Brothers segment, our next game. Usually it's me and you batting it around. Hey, what you gonna play next? Is my turn, your turn? No. How about it's the chat's turn?
Let's do it,
ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Joanna Dark throwing a good curveball at us for both of us to try. Wanted, if you remember playing that game and when I said curveball, I did that on purpose with the curved bullets.
Yeah, Weapons of Fate, right?
That's right, Weapons of Fate. I loved that movie. I thought that movie was underrated.
Me too.
360 game or PS3. Let us play it for next week. I don't even think I have that deep in the collection somewhere. I gotta go. Dude,
my favorite part of that movie is when is his name James McAvoy? Is that his name?
Yes, that's James McAvoy.
I love the part that he's at work and that lady he just has enough.
Thank you, Slomo. I'm sorry. Thank you, Slomo.
Oh,
thank you.
Go.
Mankind Divided, Deus Ex. Thank you, Slomo. Appreciate it.
That's why they pay you the big bucks, Slomo.
That's why he's the slanderous one in the chat. It is what it is. Right.
Great job.
Apologies,
man.
Please continue. I didn't mean to disrupt.
No, it's okay. But that's a good save, Slomo. We appreciate it. But yeah, man, James McAvoy, when he completely loses it, when that lady screaming up in his ear, his boss, and he completely loses it, and his heart rate's going all over the place. He's sweating.
Loses his stuff. He picks up the keyboard one day and just smacks his boy.
Oh, that was
who is his boy?
Is Star-Lord, I think.
Yes, it is.
There you go.
Throws his tooth out the door. Great movie. We diverge. Anyway,
that movie's awesome, man.
I do remember playing the game. Do you remember playing that game?
Yeah, I played it. It's been a while. I played it when it released because I was such a fan. First, actually, I read the comic of Wanted, and then
the comic was great.
Yeah, and then when they brought out the movie, I was instantly, I instantly wanted to watch it, and it was a good movie, man. I thought that it was a great comic adaptation. They kind of followed the source material without, going all wacky with it. Yeah, man, I'll be glad to play it off. And
I wish that they'd release the second. I wish they'd release the first one's always the spark. And then the next one is when they really, but they never did the next one.
Yeah,
I wish they'd done that.
The curving the bullets was always like the gimmicky thing was so cool.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So okay, let us move forward. And we will talk about the topic at hand this week. I want to talk about the topic at hand, and we'll have enough time to really get into this topic because I feel like this is gonna get a little spicy, ladies and gentlemen. So
I think so.
This is gonna get a little. And I want some chat participation in this one because, truth be told, we've talked about it in different forms all the time. But I think it's time for us to have that that limitation conversation, but from a PC context.
Exactly.
I think the PC context matters in that, because from our perspective, for those who primarily play on PC or use PC as an option, right? Usually we say, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's not really important. But sometimes it does muddy the waters for us a little bit, right? Depending, right? And what I mean by that is, like, if a game is console first, and because of that it limits the feature set, then it requires the PC audience to do a lot more heavy lifting to, you know, like, put stuff in that wasn't in the first place.
Right.
A big example of that, for example, is Jedi Survivor. Love Jedi Survivor. Been playing the heck out of it. Finally runs well on the ROG Ally. I'm enjoying myself. It's great. Problem is, I would love to do DLSS on the old PC, big old monster. Can't do that. Exclusivity deal only has AMD FSR, right? So in those instances, you got to go, you know, someone, of course, great community of gamers, someone's done the legwork and you can do that, but it's just unfortunate. And that's the kind of situation that we seem to find ourselves in, right? So on the PC side, I think that tends to be the and of course, yeah, there you go. Learn to mod. We hear you, Kirby, and a lot of us do. A lot of us OGs, a lot of gray beards. We've had to resort to those things. But the problem is, it's not everybody that can do that. And as the ROG allies of the world come to the fray, and as people start dipping their toes into the PC waters, just to be able to, like, we want the experimentation of it should be on the fringes where you want it to be, not just to get the game to run. Right. Then it kind of counteracts that message. Then the troglodytes in the PCs in the console space, and not all console space, I'm not saying everybody, but there are certain troglodytes in the console space who are stuck in Windows 95 mode, who think everything is a driver update. You know what I'm saying? And if patching is the method of success just to get the bare minimum to play, then that message kind of rings.
Get off of Windows Vista, guys. It's done. Throw in the towel. It's done.
You know what I'm saying? But no, needless to say, so I do think you brought this up because I know you were in them streets. I know you were talking to some of them warriors. Yeah. And this conversation really came about and it crystallized for you. So how about you hit us with the top of the dome where it came for you? Like, why is this all like front of mind for you at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it primarily sparked during Friday. I was invited to Crossfire, and the Series S was heavily scrutinized. I think for some things rightfully so, and for others, I think that it's getting a bad rap around these streets. But being more of a PC show, I'm coming to this conversation with deeper thoughts, than just console, versus console type mentality. I'm coming at it because I legitimately want to know the answer to these things, and I want to have a larger in-depth discussion, right? Because when we talk about, as a gaming community, when we talk about why are our games being limited, let's really talk about this and let's analyze this. Is it because I keep on hearing different things throughout the various social circles that we're on. I keep on hearing it's tools. I keep on hearing it's resources from a company perspective. I'm hearing that it's hardware, and I'm hearing that it could be a combination of all these things. Engines.
And damn it! Slow-mo says he'll just reinstall Acrobat Reader. That'll fix it. And if that doesn't work, hit the any key.
Exactly.
And if you can't find the any key, call your tech support.
Exactly. Yeah. Just don't call those people on that you find on what is it, Fiverr, asking for support, and they hack you and stuff. So don't do that.
Oh yeah. Be careful with that.
But yeah, man, the conversation sparked because, as you know, there's various articles coming out. I think Paul Tassi wrote an article how, because of the limitations of the Series S now, PlayStation,
Sony's getting a win and all
that. Right, and stuff like that, from that angle. But from a PC angle, right? Let's talk about this. I've never really heard, or maybe I haven't been in the PC circles around where you, as a 4090 owner, are constantly on social media saying that the Series S, for example, or the PS4 is holding back your gaming experience. So it's one of those things that I think that the PC customers a little bit more informed and a little bit more technical in the understanding of these things, and I think that you understand that that realistically no company is going to limit themselves to the 4090 customer base and kind of shoot themselves in the foot with sales. So let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it from a good headspace here.
Quickly, let me try and address this from first the console side of the house, because I just feel like every time we talk about it on the console side of the house, it gets lost in the sauce in the console war and the BS and all that stuff. Yeah, of course. So like, and shout out to Ty. We were talking. Oh no. Well, you just love to troll. You and your. Oh,
I love to pour the salt, man. That's what I do.
The sodium levels, right?
Exactly.
So let's talk about it, at least from the console perspective first, and then we'll address it more in the PC centric space, right? So, like for example, right, in the space of in the place of for example, a game that I've kind of dipped my toe into, Baldur's Gate 3, right? Dipped my toe into the waters. Character creator took me almost 4 hours or something, because this game is in depth. Like, it is in depth in all aspects of the word. Wait, you could do some crazy stuff. I will do a review of that game eventually, but it is very, 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 very broad, right? Like, very broad, very awesome game. We'll get to that. But of course, on the console side of the house, we hear that it's coming out on PS5 at a certain time, and on the console, on the Xbox, it will not. It will take some time for it to release. And obviously, the common denominator here is the Series S, right? So people, the Series S is holding back games. That is literally what is being written about here. Exactly. I think this is the Paul Tassi interview, right? Yeah.
So, and before you go on, hold on to your thought, because I want to ask you before we move on about what Larian did. Okay. Do you, Kay Asante, feel like if that was in their best interest to throw the Series S under the bus that way?
Well, okay. I'm not saying that they are doing that at all. I don't think that that's what they're doing, but it's not as simple as all that. So let's get into it just a little. And I'm going to keep it as surface level as I possibly can. I have a relatively good understanding of it. But if you want to get into the weeds, I'm sure Kirby Zero Louise will be more your man. But at a high level, right? There and shout out to Ty. I was talking to Ty about this, and we were having a great chat even after the show yesterday, Saturday. So okay, the consoles. Think of a console like this thing, a glass, and in it is some water, right? The water are the resources. That's where you are. That's it, from top to bottom. You choose to use these resources how you see fit, right? Some use it for this, some use it for that. What do they use it for? That is up to them. Some will throw graphics upon graphics upon graphics on the screen, and then the gameplay may suffer for it a little, depending on how they are. Because let's be honest, it's all about the wizards and what they're doing with it, right? The moment that you saw Naughty Dog release like The Last of Us 2 on PS4, you know what's going down, right? Because that's not normal that easily. It just takes time and effort and very talented folks, right? So you can do almost anything with the right time and the effort and the money spent and all of that, right? Oh, and I see some great folks in here. Shout out to the man Post Up. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. And yes, thank you. Follow the man Post Up's recommendation and hit that like button. Thank you very much for being here. So, needless to say, as far as the idea of what's going on in Larian, right? If you are a third-party developer, right, and you are specifically Larian-sized developer, which is very unique in the gaming space. Let's be clear here. People are misconstruing the size of Larian. Oh, they're a small studio. No, they're not. 400, 500 plus strong. But what they are is indie, which is very rare in that space. If you're that big and you're making AAA games, chances are you're slowly being bought and sold, right? And I mean, they were on people's list. You saw the lists. They're definitely on people's list, right? But they are, and I would say they are the CDPR of their kind. But even CDPR is backed by the Polish government to a certain extent, right? These guys are, and I'm sure that they're in their native, I think they are, I forget where they are. They're Sweden or Poland, they're Swedish, I think. But in that instance, they also probably have some grants or whatever. But needless to say, because they are in that world, right? They have to adhere to the biggest pool. They just do, right? Where do they release first? On PC, because PC is the lowest common denominator. You put it in there. You start at the end of the day. You profile. People help you while you're in early beta mode and all of that, right?
Yeah, the early access.
Early access.
And let's not forget, 6 years in the making. Okay, 6 years.
Yeah, and let's be clear. Let's keep it 100. Okay, Larian Studios are freaking wizards. Check the Metacritic. I'm not a fan of the Metacritic in general. Check the Metacritic. At the end of the day, all of their games that they brought to bear, and you can tell. And I've said this before. They did resume building exercise, kind of like Square Insomniac did a resume building exercise with Sunset Overdrive to then get the job with Spider-Man. You know, Larian did a resume building exercise with Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, and then got the job that is Baldur's Gate, which is a storied IP. You know what I'm saying? And their Metacritics prove that they are no joke. 93 Metacritic, 92 Metacritic. And when you play those games, they are dense and deep, and you can do the craziest things. Like, hear people's stories about Baldur's Gate 3. It's not to be believed. The game is on another level. So let's put that out there. We're talking about one of the games of the year. If this thing wins a game of the year conversation, I would not be surprised, because
it's not my type of game, and I'm not interested in it at all from anything I've seen. And the FOMO hasn't hit me yet, because FOMO usually hits me, but it hasn't. So, but I give it its respects. I mean, if people are saying it's that good, I believe them. Yeah, I'm glad. So let me give you a quick example of the things you can do here. You find an innocent woman, you kill this innocent woman, of course.
Right? Then you loot her, steal her junk, and then revive her with a spell, and then make her think that you saved her life. And then she becomes indebted to you and follows you around for the rest of the game, doing whatever you want.
I mean, that's just her life. I mean, that's pretty in depth, but I mean, I was doing that with the
this is the stuff.
I was doing that, picking up the girls in GTA 3 running them, doing the service,
GTA crazy levels,
running them over and taking my money back, but that's okay.
It is GTA levels of ingenuity and craziness that can be done there, but it can go way left. This is the kind of game we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
But needless to say, as far as the PlayStation-ness of it all, right? If you are Larian, it is in your best interest,
of course,
to make the game on the console side for PlayStation first. You are profiling for PlayStation and then porting to Xbox.
And if you have a team of 30 or 40 or 50 or 100, whatever the number is, that's specifically catered towards consoles, I would assume that you're going to use most of your resources to develop for the PS5 to make sure that it's as polished as possible.
And don't get me wrong about any of that. Like people are, misconstruing, and they're putting the mushy middle, and they're going, they must have been paid or whatever. Yeah. Time constraints. There's payment there, maybe. Who knows, right? You won't know that. It's always under the bridge. They themselves have said it will come. They themselves have said it is easier. It'll be there, right? Here's my thing. And people have been, look at it running in split screen on a Steam Deck, right?
Right.
There's a million reasons why a set system that needs to have consistency doesn't pass certification to then go, or maybe they haven't even tried, or maybe it hasn't gotten to the level where they themselves feel like it's where they want it to be, right? But the reason why it's not a problem on PlayStation and it is a problem on Xbox is twofold, and one is their fault and one isn't, right? One that is Xbox's fault is they put 8 gigs of RAM on the Series S, right? They put 8 gigs of RAM on the Series S, but they did that and they were smart, because then they gave it such interesting specialty tools that if you use them, it'll offset the memory, and and they've shown it in white papers, and it looks very, very interesting. And actually, if you actually drill down, if anyone ever were to bring all this stuff to bear, you would see some crazy, crazy stuff happen, right? But no one's really done that, right? So, shout out to you, sir, Mr. Pixelbit G's in the chat. Yes, it has 10 gigs, but there are only 8 available to developers for game use.
Allocated, yeah. The other 2 are allocated for the.
Yeah, exactly. The 8 gigs are what the hypervisor sees. What the hypervisor allocates to the VM. Needless to say, because of the offset in the tools, they go, you're fine. If we offset the tools, if we use the interesting, and I'm keeping it vague, if we use the top level stuff that's brought to bear, right? Then guess what? You'll have no issues. But here's the issue. You are not the market leader. You don't have the biggest pool. So inherently, no one has the business incentive to prioritize your console or carve a team that will like spend the time necessary to do what needs to be done, because it's different than what's necessary on PlayStation completely, right? In order to make use of exactly what you want them to make use of. On the flip side, if you were the market leader, right, and they started this thing with your pool in mind, that thing would have hit that thing with no issue. Like it would have hit that, the Series S would have hit it with no issue. Why? Because the tools being used correctly would then offset the need for the high memory bandwidth that is required. The reason why it's not a problem on PC, you got lots of RAM, you can do it with it what you will. The reason why it's not a problem on PlayStation is because PlayStation does the not the offsetting of resources. They have a pool like this. You can just use it as you will.
But help me understand something. Coming in new to PC, to this space, this is what I don't understand, right?
Yeah.
If Larian Studios can develop a game to run on a 4090 with 24 gigs of RAM, and they can figure it out on a card that has 8 gigs of RAM, why? I know it's not fair, and I understand the technicalities.
Why can't they do it for the Series S?
I understand the technicalities of it. I'm trying to compare apples to oranges, but
listen,
what's going on? Like that's the part that I think that a lot of people are trying to figure out.
Listen carefully. They 100% can, but it's like baking layers on a cake. That's what a game is. Think of it that way. They can bake layers on a cake. That is the project of making a game over and over and over and over again, right? And they were doing that over and over and over again. What do you call it? Redfall was doing that, right? And then during the process of cake building, which is the game, they went, oh, by the way, now you're an Xbox studio, first party. So what do you do then? Do you throw the cake away?
No, you can't. You can't do that.
But that cake was built as a PlayStation cake from jump. Do you throw the cake away, or do you kind of clean it up and do the best you can in order for it to work the way it does? Now, will it work the way it's supposed to? Of course it will, because at its core, it's the same x86 architecture. It's even the same architecture from an AMD perspective. So it will run. But every company puts their own special sauce in the mix. So if you don't adhere to that special sauce for that team, it'll never run as righteous as the other one.
I get that. I get that. And I get that. And again, look, it's not to bring in conspiracies, and it's not because you know that me, you, and Everborn are on the same conspiracy page when it comes to this game. It just so happens that there's another little game coming out during during the time that this game's going to release, and I think it's called, what's it called again? Starfield. A little game. Have you heard of it before?
And that game is another PlayStation game. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen. PlayStation game.
And
the layer cake was far too built.
Right. And now before
back.
Now remember, you're gonna have someone crazy clip you out and say that you're saying that it's a PlayStation game.
I will. Let me define what I mean by a PlayStation game. If you are the market leader and you have the biggest pool, which means the biggest pool of people,
or did they start developing this game?
Whenever they develop, right, and your development pipeline is different than the others, they need to put their resources from a business perspective where it matters most, where the biggest pool is. So everyone develops on PC, so PC's kind of easy, right? You can do minimal, well, not minimal, but from a development perspective, you don't need to do as much as you do on console to make it pass cert and be so perfect. You can kind of release a buggy thing and kind of keep it moving, right? That is known commodity, right? But on console, every version of the console, every revision, next gen, there's new special sauce that's added that needs to be adhered to in order for it to shine. Now, the smoke that comes with Xbox is they did that special sauce and they went, yup, that's what you need to adhere to offset the shortcomings we've put into the system. right?
Okay.
Which is fine. You can totally do that, but do that and then show me Gears 5 that'll blow my wig back.
Right.
Do that and then show me like Forza Horizon running at 4K, like running at 1440p 60 with ray tracing on track on a Series S. If you do that, then anytime anybody else produces a potato, we can go, shut up, you produced a potato.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because this is where this is starting to pick up traction, especially on Friday, being part of Crossfire. That's something that a lot of that a lot of the I let's just call them the Hooved brothers, you know, as Umbra would say, you know, and that's fine. They're entitled to their own opinion, even though it's wrong. But what they were basically saying is that now that Forza has come out and kind of said, hey, you know, the split screen isn't going to be available at launch. Now that kind of cemented what Larian is saying here, when I don't think that one thing has to do with another.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the other. Like, you want, and you know what, for me, the whole split screen thing, thank God they're not doing split screen. Thank God. You know why? Because to me, split screen causes artificial limitations. That's what it does, right? And you know, developers, as I'm throwing flowers left and right, developers are geniuses. They go far above and beyond. They're able to offset and are able to work around all the various issues that come up in development, and they always will. That's fine. But again, you're a pool of resources. If you are deciding to make a split screen game, let's say it's co-op, 2 split screen, local, that means your resources gets limited by this, because half of it must go to one side and the other half must go to the other side. Can you imagine running your game at its highest fidelity split in twice?
Yeah,
how powerful must that machine be?
They're kind of
how much concessions must you drop in order for them both to run well?
Well, they're putting ankles, in my opinion, around their, you know, they're putting weights around their ankles by
around their ankles. That's right.
You know?
So if you're in a world where you're like, screw it, we're not doing that, we're not adhering to both sides of the house, you can do it online, then you get to put all your resources where they belong, instead of having to limit them in order for 2 people, or limit them further for 4, or limit you understand what I'm saying? But it's a simplistic solution that I'm saying, because there's a lot of offset and it's far more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But that is actively the situation. Now, don't get me wrong. For those who are going to come for me, the Halo among you that will come for me and say Halo's always been part of split screen. Split screen's always been a part of Halo. On that, I agree. If you say this is part and parcel of the formula, and then you last minute like pull the rug out, you deserve all the smoke you get, right? But if you want to move forward, just like people are talking about, well, you know, 30 frames per second on Starfield is fine because they want to put the fidelity above anything else. That's what they did, right? They had the resource pool. They decided not to limit it to 60. They decided to use the whole resource pool and choose 30 on the console side.
And can I just say something? And this is for Eric Reed in the chat. I get it, brother. You know, sometimes it sucks, especially, you know, when you hear that, like Forza, for example, or even when Halo came out, that they weren't going to have that split screen option, and that's the way you wanted to enjoy the game. But Kay, do you think for Eric, it's fair for me to be able to tell him that the reason that maybe things have evolved is because we're not in the 360 days anymore, where Halo 3 was running, or Halo Reach was running at a certain, you know, or even Halo 5 for that matter, was running what, at 900p during the Xbox One days?
Exactly.
And you know, and things have evolved a little bit. Is that fair for me to say, or am I a little out of line?
You are 100% correct. And honestly, Eric, not to be like flippant, like, oh, forget the split screen.
No, it's not what it's about.
It's just, it's that song and dance. It's that fine dance of, do you want them to push the boundary forward, or do they always have to limit it in order to adhere to some like, I wouldn't say cruft, but some adherence of the past? And while I agree that many games benefit from the multiplayer or the co-op side by side, right? Like I've been playing Double Dragons. There are some games that with enough overhead where it can reach the vision you were looking for and still implement that, no problem. Do so. My problem is when you have to pare back your vision in order to make split screen work. I feel like in the world where everyone's still pushing for such next gen, it limits you. right? It just does. Or you end up with a 30 frames game that could have been 60. You have to have concessions somewhere. So to me, what I do, Eric, and that's a great question. My couch split screen thing is a little funny. I have 2 Game Pass accounts. So when I'm playing with my kids local, sometimes they play on the TV and I play next to him with my cloud stream device. And I have couch co-op with him on the TV. You can see mine, I can see his, and this and that.
That's
a weird solution. It's a workaround, I know, but like and that's obviously not going to be a solution for everything, right? But I want them to be able to, like I said, this is the pool. You can use it the way you choose, right? But on this show, we want to help you understand that that's what it is. And it's not an arbitrary limitation that they've put on this and that. They've decided to make some choices, and those choices are related to this. It's not a limitation on the hardware. It's literally what they chose to do with the resources they had available to them. And why did they choose to do that? Business reasons, maybe technical reasons, probably both, right?
Okay,
so it's never that simple.
But if you can, to the best of your ability, help me understand this, because I'm really hung up on this, and this is something that I just don't understand from a technical perspective, right? If Larian, for example, not to pick on them, but I mean they're I have to in this case, and you know what? Let's say anyone else that has struggled to bring out a game on Series S that they've had to, and that's the thing, they'll make you believe that this is a widespread industry issue when it's not. It's literally a handful of people that have said something. It's not industry wide, because 98 to 99% of games are still coming out on all of these devices, plus all the graphic cards, right, that are in the market. So what is, if Larian figured out, again, how to use 8 gigs of RAM or even less, I don't know, in another graphics card, why is this so difficult for them, in your opinion? Why is this different?
So remember, you're comparing PC to console, different architecture.
Okay.
Open-ended versus very restricted, very limited, very my way or the highway, and by which way, whichever platform you're talking about. That's why. It's whichever hardware you're talking about. And therein lies the key. Which was the first hardware you profiled for? Because if you profiled for Xbox, you're gonna have a hard time getting it to run better on PC on PlayStation. And if you profiled for PlayStation, you're gonna have a hard time for it to run on Xbox. Now, here's where there's smoke for Xbox, right? PlayStation would not have as hard of a time, because if you profiled it for Xbox, you'd be profiling it for the Series S and X, right? And they would both be great. S and X, because at the low scale you have to be strategic and intelligent with how you implement versus just using the power of the box, right? And that's where Series S lives. So if you're able to make Series S shine, everything on top of that is cake. You understand? So oddly enough, if Series S was the primary console for the generation, everyone would benefit, because Series X would look great, Series S would look great, PS5 would look great, all the PlayStation. Why? Because when you do your porting to PlayStation, yes, it's true that you will not be able to use all the same features, DirectX to Vulkan and all the various incarnations that the PlayStation would have, but like they profile for the lowest common denominator, that being the Series S in the console space. So what you can't actually really do well in, you can brute force, just like the X does today. That's the reason why most of the time you hear, oh, the Series X is fine, it can do this, it can do that, but the X can't, because they didn't profile for the X. The X wasn't their main profile, that wasn't their main console. But because the X has like copious overhead, it can brute force a lot of the stuff that they should have been optimizing for. The S only lives in optimization, no brute forcing.
So then let me ask you something else then, because we saw one of the Remedy people, I guess you can say, I don't know if it was a developer or if it was...
He is not a developer, he's more in public relations, but I hear you. Continue.
Okay, so we have the Remedy dude come out and say that the Series S is basically holding back, in his opinion, I guess, what can be achieved with the next generation of gaming, right? And I look at Alan Wake 2, and don't get me wrong, I'm excited for that game. I'm going to be playing it for sure. I'm going to play it for PC. but I'm not seeing that game do something that Resident Evil 4 didn't do. I'm not seeing that game push anything that I'm telling myself I need to go out right now to get a 4090 because my 4070 is not going to be able to handle that sucker. So with that said,
and hopefully we don't live in a world where you think that for at least 15 years, because that'd be a lie.
Yeah. When this gets tossed around the community, that the Series S, for example, or even, you know what, this is why I mentioned this, and this topic came to my mind. Why aren't we hearing the 1080 Super, the 20 whatever number of graphics card, the 3060, the 30 series is holding back gaming, or whatever the most widely used card on PC is holding back gaming?
See,
why don't we hear this?
This is where you have the issue, because you're talking about a closed, tight, regulated, must be repeatable over and over and over and over and over again, every console, to a range spec design that goes, hey, this is what you need roughly for 1080p, this is what you need roughly for 1440p 4K, go have fun. And you decide what hardware you bring to bear to it, versus a console space where the target, which is good and bad.
Kirby Louise says there's no such thing as a 1080 Super. My bad.
Yeah, where on the console side, the target, for better or worse, is this big and everyone has to hit it. You know what I'm saying? It's a different equation, right? And you're not building a game for a console. You're not building a game for a PC. You're building it for the wide swath. So it makes it difficult to have that one game be able to profile for the range and then hit that one target. That's exactly what Larian is going through right now. So what did they do? They just gave you the range, because that's the easiest thing you can do.
Okay.
You know, Kay's got the 4090. You know, John Wolf got the 4070. Somebody got a 3080. Somebody got this. Somebody got that. Well, here's the low range. Here's the high range.
Have made up 1080 Super I just made up.
But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I'm saying? But on the console side, even in a world, look at this. Unless in the rare scenario where a developer says, hey, my game that I'm making is going to have an unlocked frame rate mode, you won't even get the benefits of next gen when you upgrade to next gen. They have to go in and unlock that. This is my point when I'm saying this to you, right? They may try to do that in the PC space, but we'll go, my I window says hello, and 5 minutes later you're off to the races, right? You can't do that in the console space. So the hardware is kind of this it's meant to be this piece of paper with which everyone draws on the same margins. Right, but the problem is everyone's trying to draw a picture this big, and they're trying to fit it all on that piece of paper.
So it's wrong. So you think it's wrong for me to kind of compare the two? Like, is that kind of like a wrong assumption?
The PC gaming is gaming, true, but the PC space is a very different world than the console space, right? The PC, it's like comparing. It's like making a comparison to Netflix versus, oh, did you see the new TMNT came out? What did I do? I went to my home theater with a 100-inch screen, and I made sure to go get the reel from the theater, and darked my room, had the authentic popcorn, and had a projector, literally projected like actual theater style, like I'm there. Versus Netflix, PC versus console. Okay, this is it. Different equation, different factors, different pluses and minuses. Convenience versus a lot of effort, but output versus convenience, which may not be so good.
All right, let's get a little spicy now, and you could be honest. You could be honest, okay? I want you to, not that you aren't.
Oh, and
never are.
And before we move forward, let us not be remiss, and let us not forget the amazing $20 super chat left by BT Maverick 707. Cheers. Brother, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. He said, "Hey, just jumping in from a workout, trying to work on my guns like Everborn." Oh God, don't ever let him hear that. You'll never hear
Come on, man.
So my question is, do you recommend Lutris or Heroic for your Steam Deck for those epic goods? Also, what up, Mr. Wolf? We appreciate you guys for everything. Thank you so much for being here and for the $20 super chat. To answer the question, honestly, it's to each his own, really. I find that each of them have interesting things. I started with Heroic and for those who aren't aware, Heroic Player and Lutris are the Linux variant that lets you get access to your Epic Game Store library. And yes, you want an Epic Game Store library because if you're part of our crew, you are smart and you know that wherever there are free games is where you need to be a part of. So you probably have a library right now of a lot of free games that they are offering. So
but you still roll library, your eyes when you see that Steam launcher. You still
when you do have that library, you will then investigate either Lutris or Heroic Game Launcher
Epic
for your
launcher,
Steam
my
Deck.
bad.
Yeah, exactly. For your Steam Deck in order to get that to run. I like the Heroic launcher sometimes because you can also forward it to be part of your in library in Steam in library, right? But you can do the same thing with Lutris. It's to each his own. It's just some have different layers of complication than others. It's just about how you want to interface with it. I think Lutris is a bit more power usery, whereas Epic as a Heroic Player likes to kind of take the guesswork out of it and do it more streamlined for you. But either way works, I think.
I always heard good things about Heroic, so I heard a lot of good things.
It works great. Heroic works absolutely excellent. Like I have no issues with it ever. Yeah, it's perfect.
That's what
let us move on. You said you had a spicy question.
Yeah, I got a spicy question for you. Okay, and it's it comes from it's gonna kind of tail end this conversation, and also I want to ask your honest opinion. So as a PC.
Hit me up in the DMs, bro. We'll talk about it. You're trying to figure out why Vine to make it work. I got you. I figured it. It took some time, but I got it working. I got you back. We'll figure it out. No worries. We'll continue, man.
So this is what I want to know. Mm-hmm. Would you, as a 4090 owner, and I think that I know the answer to this, would you be happy just to see games working on a 4090 that are designed just for a 4090?
Hell no. Hell no. That is the most selfish thought I've ever heard. No, hell no. And why is that? Because even in the world where games are profiled for like far less capable processors, you need GPUs and CPUs. You need all the overhead you can get to bypass some of the ridiculous optimization that is lacking. So if you profile for a 4090, good luck playing that thing. What are you talking about? No.
So
and plus. That means my brothers and sisters the window of gaming will get this small to elitists. That's terrible.
Well, here's the thing, and then the reason I asked that question is because that's how I think that these publishers and developers are thinking. They're trying to hit as many consumers as possible. So when we have conversations as a community like this, is this console or is this GPU holding gaming back or whatever the case may be, we also need to take into consideration that these publishers don't want to limit themselves. So while I really don't think that we're going to be anytime soon in an age where we have another can it run crisis issue here, because at the time Crisis, if you had a console, you didn't even think about Crisis. You knew it couldn't happen back in the day. You knew that you needed top of the line hardware. That wasn't even a thought.
And the funny thing about the whole "Can it run" Crisis meme, which was a meme before the meme was, that was an accident. Like that wasn't Crytek putting their foot down. That wasn't Crytek pulling a Star Citizen move. That was Crytek not optimizing very well their engine, and now they've subsequently done a really good job of it. They are now masters of that. But for a long time, that was the problem. So the whole idea of this boss machine that can it run? They weren't really good at optimization.
But we're not. But that's the thing. I think that we're not ever, not never. I don't want to say never, but I don't think that we're anywhere close to the gaming space being that ever again. I don't think that we're gonna have one game that we need, for example, a 4090 for. Just you need a 4090 and that's it. We've put our foot down. If you don't have a 4090, it's not going to work. I mean,
I don't think so. Yeah, that's never going to happen.
So in these conversations, that the Xbox Series S, for example, or the PS4, because I've also seen people throw the PS4 under the bus. I mean, to a certain extent, until when can you say, hey, it's true, these games are being held back by these other devices? I mean, to me, it's I understand from a
So when you say holding back, what do you mean? I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, like some of the things that you see out there is that the for example, the latest thing I saw yesterday, that what's this game? Lords of the Fallen. It's got such low performance on these consoles. And again, you've explained it thoroughly throughout this episode, so I have a better understanding of what you're saying. But legitimately people in comments and I've heard around the web, saying that it's because of the Series S that the performance is so low on these other consoles that are more powerful. And I just scratch my head at that, and I'm like, okay, so if these developers knew that when they started Lords of the Fallen on Unreal Engine 5, that the barrier was low with the Series S, for example, that to me something's not adding up here. Okay, something is off here. I don't really understand how one console or one graphics card or whatever would be getting the blame because the developer said, "Oh, we can't do that because it's not powerful enough."
In the console space, there are dependencies. That's the unfortunate nature of it, right? In the PC space, no dependencies, right? You don't have the right card, you ain't playing the game. That's it. That's all there is to it. Move along. Those who have the right card will be able to play the game. In the console space, though, specifically on the Xbox side of the house, right? You have generations. Well, all consoles have generations, but in this generation with Series S and X, when you release an X game, it must run on the S. That's where the narrative is coming from. So the game must be performing on S first because the X has way more than enough, right? So if the game isn't performing on S or doesn't play well on S, then you gotta optimize for S, and it slows things down. That's where Larian is coming from. That's where you get all this stuff where, it's holding the gen back because S needs more optimization time. S needs more development time, right? S is the switch of the bundle. So you got to take more time to wring more out of it. Now, the difference between the S and the Switch, yes, I compared it to the Abacus. The difference, though, is the S is a capable mother effer if you treat it right. They loaded it up with all the velocity architecture features that you heard so much about that no one, including first party, has used.
Very weird. Very weird.
Hence my Microsoft smoke, right? Like you said, it is not in Larian's best interest to hit the 4090. It is not, because the 4090 is the tip of the spear. It is not Larian's best interest to hit the Series S because the Series S is the smallest pool in comparison in the console space. So it is up to you, Mr. First Party, to prove to us why it is valuable to do so, why it is advantageous for you to do so. Why should I use sample feedback streaming? Why should I use the new direct storage APIs? Why? What will it do? Show me why it's worth the money.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Because if I am a developer or if I am the publisher funding a development team, right? And you go, yeah, the Series S will run at 30 frames, 1080p, or we're gonna 720p and use upscaling, but it'll run 30 frames at 1080p upscaled, right? Could it do more? Yeah, it could, but we need about 6 to 8 months more dev time. Okay, how's the X running? Oh, the X is righteous. How's this PS5 looking? Oh, the PS5 is righteous. And the question on the PS5 is always one, because even though they have a disc and a disc list, you put one and you're done, right? In the world of me, publisher man, looking at my pocket, where's the biggest pool? PS5? Oh, ship it. Right? If I care enough, maybe I'll delay the Xbox version totally because I can't release the X version without the S version and vice versa. That's Xbox's mandate. Hence they're holding games back. But if I had started using the velocity architecture, if I had started doing that, if Microsoft had shown me why it's advantageous for me to take the dev time doing that, I bet my game would be flawless on that hardware because they built it to offset the nature that happens when you build only for PlayStation. That note, you gotta convince them. You gotta go to them. You gotta work with them from day one because you can't flip the script 6 months until the game releases and go, have you heard of this thing called sampler feedback streaming? No, it's too late then. Have you heard of mesh shaders? You gotta start authoring your mesh shader compatible stuff from day One, that's why I said Starfield is a PS5 game. Because if Starfield was incubated under Xbox, it probably would have used mesh shaders. Now, had it used mesh shaders, would have been compatible with PlayStation? Hell no, because PlayStation doesn't support it. You get it?
But to Xbox's credit, they did it because Phil did confirm this. They did send their A team over there to make sure.
Of course they did.
You know that any limitations or bottlenecks would be handled.
Yes, but you know what that is though? That is the layer cake being cleaned up.
Yeah.
That is not rebuilding it from the ground up. Because if you rebuilt it from the ground up, guess what would get 60 frames? Your PlayStation and your Xbox consoles would get 60 frames because you'd rebuild it. You would most likely use mesh shaders, sample all the bells and whistles, and oh, by the way, your consumer base wouldn't get that game for another 6 years. So there's your trade-offs. What do you want? Do you want a patch job that runs well enough for now while we fix it in the background and eventually it'll be good? Or do you want us to do it the right way from jump, but wait 6 more years because now we have to throw away the PlayStation version?
Yeah, that's not feasible.
This is the thing.
Yeah,
this is
it's
what I'm
not
talking
feasible
about.
to do that. So let me hit you with another curveball here. Something again that's been on my mind, and I, I love talking to you. So if for the most part the PC market, go ahead.
Quick question. Ty is asking a very interesting question. So series can hit 60 frames with Starfield. Even Todd Howard has said on many occasions the Series X can hit 60 frames. But consistency, this is total speculation on my part. But I suspect that again, since it wasn't built with Series S in mind, X benefits from brute force. X got no brute force. So now we gotta adhere. So technically, in the console space, now somebody gonna clip this and use this against us later. In the console space, technically, Starfield held it back. Because I bet you the Series X can do 60 frames.
And with time, that's going to be proven. Because if 6 months to a year, all of a sudden a patch comes out, and on the X it's doing 60, 1440p 60, and then on the S 1080p 60, that'll be proven.
The resolution scaling in this game, and we'll know more when it comes out. But because of their attention to detail, you see how Larian goes so hard on dialogue. So hard on all the various use cases. You can do some weird ish you've never done in a game. When it comes to Starfield, you can pick up almost anything you see. You can drop a dead body in space somewhere, and then 5 years later you go back to it and it's still there because they're calculating for it. And because of all that, it's a lot of CPU, not as much GPU. So there's a question of how will resolution scaling really factor, right? That's why I think, even though initially I thought, why the heck would you go like 4K 60 or 4K 30 on X Series X, and why don't you just scale it back so you could do it? Because I suspect that even if they scaled it back, it wouldn't give them the benefit they're looking for. So why not just give you the beauty?
Yeah, and Todd is a fan of Todd is a fan of the filmic.
Todd is a fan of using all the resources, not half. Right.
So
there you go.
So let me ask you this, and I'm pulling a Ty talks here. We're making you, we're using your expertise, and we're really testing you here. So
let's go.
You're a developer now, Kay, right? You've made it your choice to release a game on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. And obviously you're not going to do the abacus because, why would you? All right. So, and that's for Mr. Joanna Dark out there. Okay. So if that's the case, why do we have ports such as you mentioned, Star Wars Jedi Survivor? Why is it such a mess on PC when the console, and it was a mess on the consoles as well, so it gets justified smoke throughout. But if you know that your largest pool is going to be the PC space, where I assume they're going to get the most sales, right? It's their largest consumer base. Why is that?
Why even on the PC side do we see so many screw ups, right?
Yeah. Is it because that's a case, and let me just finish this and then you can give your answer. Is it because we have to not blame, but we have to think and we have to say, okay, why did this happen? Is it safe to say, if I were to assume, it's because of poor resource usage within internally as a studio? You maybe split up teams unevenly or not or didn't give them enough time. The pressure was on, so they had to kind of rush here, or what do you think is the reason? Because this is the last thing I'll say about this whole topic. While the Series S, for example, is getting all this smoke and stuff like that, I don't think that people are giving these publishers the smoke that they deserve. Because I don't want to buy games anymore day one, K. This generation has put me completely off of day one. Now, Game Pass has kind of made that easier to digest because it's not $70 off my pocket. But at the same time, I understand those that say, oh, but that's not an excuse. And it's not. But at the same time, it's made it at least easier, to digest. But why do you think this is happening, brother? Do you think that there's just too much hardware out there? Do you think that it's a combination of all these things that's happening?
No. Like, it's a great question. And you speak to the common man's frustration, and I appreciate that. Like, we've shown the Steam charts, the Steam hardware charts before, right? And it shows you where the average gamer, the most a hardware block lives, right? So, as a developer, you want to look at where that hardware lives and profile, make sure you hit just that block, because that's your biggest pool, right? Even in the PC space, you have those that are under, and depending on how low they're under, you may just cut them off at the knees and say, no soup for you. But even in that space, guess what? Now they have a Steam Deck profile, which really clocks it down because they have a bunch of handhelds. Ally, Steam Deck, they literally have a Steam Deck option in Cyberpunk, one of the heaviest games out there, right? So they are now adhering to a wider swath of people, right? The problem there are budgets, right? They profile for that part, and I know this because one of my best friends, and I gotta get him on the show. One of my great friends has been a producer in his former life for many years, doing a lot of great production work for both mobile and proper AAA indie studios. The man worked for EA, so how indie is that? He worked for Ubisoft, how indie is that?
Nice.
He worked for Epic during Gears, how indie is that? And then he actually was the executive producer for a short time on what's that game that ABK is talking about so heavily? Oh yeah, Candy Crush. So there's that. Okay. So we've spoken at length.
He's been around the block.
Yeah. And by and large, the producer is in charge of the budget. And what do I mean by the budget? I don't mean by the monetary budget. I'm talking about the computer resource budget, right? And everyone on the team has to adhere to the budget, from the artists on musicians, everyone. There's a budget, right? If you've ever played, or if you've ever played around in Halo Infinite Forge mode, right? There's a budget at the bottom. It shows you how much you can't overspend. If you do, bad things happen, right? That's a simplistic view, but that's the same idea. Everyone must adhere to a budget, scene to scene, place to place, so you don't blow your budget. And what happens is, as these games start, people get excited, and this is just speculation on my part, but there's also been a lot of evidence to back that up. People get excited, they overshoot their skis. The scope broadens beyond what was originally maintained. Oh, we were targeting we're targeting the 20 series cards, that place. Oh no, now it looks like we're cropping into 30 territory. Oh, we're blowing the budget here, blowing the budget there. We're using way more VRAM than we should for that budget. You understand? And that's where you get things like, and even in the console space it happens. That's where you get last gen games, very last minute, cutting the last gen version and going, no, we're not, we're next gen. No, you're not. You're still last gen.
Gotham Knights.
You just blew your budget. Thank you. Yep. You just blew your budget. That's all you did. You blew the load. Pause. You know what I'm saying? That's what they did. So instead of dealing with the ramifications of having a badly optimized game for that older hardware, they cut it, right? Same thing on PC. That's why you buy a 4090. You don't buy a 4090 to play 4090 games. You buy a 4090 so when they target a 20 series card, or wherever they happen to target, AAA or not or whatnot, your hardware is powerful enough to bypass all the BS non-optimization that goes on.
So do you think
a lot of overhead? So
with that said, do you think it's okay for Series X owners to be a little disappointed by the mandate of the Series S and the X? Do you understand kind of like their frustration, or you think
right
that's...
now? Oh, 100%. Why do I keep saying I have righteous smoke for Microsoft? It is not in the best interest of a third party to use all that hardware. It is up to you to convince them, to force them, because it helps their pocket. You see, if them not doing it and not hitting, if Starfield not coming out at 60 frames on console would have led to not selling, they would have delayed it. They would have pushed it back. They would have done something to ensure that they hit that target. They are an entity that is geared towards separating you from your dollars. If that does not happen, mission not accomplished. If you will buy it under duress, mission accomplished. You'll still buy it.
Can I just say that for Please. this whole Baldur's Gate 3 thing, I have to call out. I have to say that Larian made a business decision here not to come out on Xbox 100%, and it's not fair just to solely blame the Series S for this, in my opinion.
I'm like, it's too simple.
But the thing is that, like, I'll give you an example. Ratchet and Clank, right? Ratchet and Clank released on PC a few weeks ago. All right. Now, I don't know if you've been seeing, but they didn't release with the ray tracing features on AMD cards, and they didn't use that as a crutch to say we're gonna stagger our AMD release window. Okay, we're gonna make you guys wait 6 months. We're gonna make you wait whatever the case may be. So I don't know why, Kay. I understand. Yes, I do prefer the Xbox ecosystem.
But remember, you say you don't know why. Of course, you do know why.
No,
you don't. Because when you don't have those features you want, you can scale your resolution down. You can drop the fog. You can make sure chromatic aberration is gone. You can maybe use use FSR. Heck, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They know you could probably go on Gaming Nexus or something, and find a mod to then put DLSS in there. And they can be shortcutty. It's PC space, baby.
And I want to say
console space, they can't do that.
They can't do that. And I want to say something that I don't know the answer to, which is why I asked the question, because I don't want to sound ignorant. Is split screen such an important part of Baldur's Gate 3 that Larian, in your opinion, can justify them not releasing this for the Series and S and X and delay it? Because to them, it's such an integral feature that they don't want it to be missing from their game.
It is a hardcore RPG. It is Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate. It is Dungeons and Dragons. So much Dungeons and Dragons that sometimes when weird pivotal moments happen, you get the 6-sided die and you got to flip it, and it'll tell you what, depending on how much points you make, it'll come. The outcome will be. I am not giving any short shrift to the idea of having split screen. Not saying that. I'm not. All I'm saying is, in this specific instance where split screen is holding it kind of hostage a bit, they could have removed that feature from the console, from that version, and just shipped both Xbox version without split screen. It would have been a little bit of mud on Xbox's eye, but at the end of the day, you'd be playing the game.
And it's a business decision of how they want to view their product, because again, to specifically point out Ratchet and Clank, and I know ray tracing is not a split screen like feature, it just makes it prettier, but they made the business decision to tell them, the AMD customers, you have to wait for the ray tracing through an update, but we're still giving you the game. So that's why, I don't know, man, there's something up here.
The PC something space, remember, the PC space is full of users. The console space is full of consumers.
Okay.
Different use case. They can expect you to walk and chew gum by yourself a little bit in the PC space, because that's what you do as a PC user.
That's fair.
And real quick, to address Alvin, he says no. No, it's 30%. I suspect he says no. Split screen is not necessary, especially when online co-op online still exists, and not a feature. And it's not a feature on Steam Deck. Yes, it is not a feature on Steam Deck. It is. They removed it from Steam Deck, but you can mod it back into the Steam Deck. You totally can. Right?
But they chose to release it. So,
but this is my point. My point is the Steam Deck is also a PC. Like they chose to release it. They undo it. You can go in the background and fix whatever the hell you want to fix. The PC space should not be compared to the console space.
No, and I get that. But let's remove the technicality from the business talk. The business sense of Larian told them to release this game.
But let's be clear.
For the Steam Deck.
You are 100% correct. They didn't release it for the Steam Deck. They released it on PC.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Right? But to your assertion, to your tinfoil hat theory that possibly there's a business decision here, let's be a buck, okay? Larian Studios are PC gamers as well as PC developers first. Guess what game they'll be playing day one? They won't admit it, but I bet it'll be Starfield because they are gamers themselves. Now, they run into this issue with memory allocation, split screen, blah, blah, blah. We had this feature. It was in the PC version. It's always been in the PC version. Now we're looking at consoles and it looks like it might be a little bit funny. This, that. They're having genuine issues. I'll take them at their word, right? But then they realize that, hey, now we're in a space where the console war is heavy. Like heavy, right? And you've seen that meme where the PC people give the two monkeys that are Xbox and PlayStation knives, and they're like, and the PC people are just like standing back laughing. I kind of feel that's what Larian's kind of done right now.
they handed me the knife. Yes, I'm the monkey.
Well, they handed the troglodytes the knife, and to all my PC, all my console gamers in the chat. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about those who will take that message and go do battle on the streets of X because mine's better than yours. Those are talking about me. I mean,
no, just messing around. We're talking about Web Dave, actually. Web Dave. No, just Web Dave. What's up, man? I just saw you in the chat right now.
But long story short, they do that. They did that because they realized, like, look, man, even at a very top level layer of it, where it's not like money changing hands or whatever, maybe that's it. Take it at their word. It could be, but let's take it at their word that it's not. What did they just stumble into? They stumbled into the console war, right? And when they stumble into the console war,
I'm just messing around, brother.
When they stumble into the console war, guess what? Now this presents a very interesting opportunity for them.
Of course,
they can position themselves as counter programming to a bigger pool.
It's smart.
It's a smart. Bigger pool, right? Because PC counteracts that narrative. It's on PC. It's everywhere. That's fine. So is Starfield, right? So on PC, they know they're probably going to get murdered. They know that. But in the console space, if it's number one on PlayStation, they have they got a winner because PlayStation has a big pool. So even if they didn't specifically like position themselves on purpose to do that, it worked in their favor. So
here's the smoke that I'll give them. I'm not a fan of them not acting because I'm Mr. Miami Heat, Latino Heat. I'm just a YouTuber, consumer, whatever. I can say pretty much, whatever it is.
That's right.
But I don't work directly for any of these companies or with Xbox or with PlayStation or anything like that, right? I just feel like if it's a little out of line, that they kind of inadvertently, even though that they were trying to be, even though that they were trying to be honest, I think that they were just trying to be upfront with the audience. I don't think it's so smart to throw, for example, the Series S under the bus because they feel that way, especially considering, because again, the conversation was sparked. You've done an excellent, elegant job of explaining it to the normal folks like me, right? Of breaking this down, why you can't compare the two. But this whole time I was like, okay, if they can develop for a 3050 or whatever the case may be, a 3060 with 8 gigs of RAM, why can't they figure this out? And I think we already went through that conversation, but they literally they really did throw the Series S under the bus, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you're not wrong. They definitely did that because it's easy. Right? It's not going to be easy forever, but for now, it's easy. And if it continues to be easy, that is smoke in Microsoft's face. Because I believe that the Series S is a powerhouse of a device. If you really use it and tap into it the way it should be tapped into, you will see that multiple games, run amazingly on that hardware. But it's not any third party's best interest to do that. because it'll require more time and effort than you want to spend on your
and again, look, I know that it's not going to be popular to pick on Larian Studios, especially with the game that they just released, almost getting a perfect score here. But I have to call them out on one more thing, and it's just the way I see it. It's nothing against them or their game. 6 years and you guys couldn't figure out the Series S. Why?
No. They are a PC first developer. They are like, and if you look at it, now I will defend them on that. If you look at their history, they always release consoles a year after a PC. This is why this whole release is unique, and even this is not unique because it's been in early access on PC for a long time now, right? They are not console first developers. They focus their energy on PC, and if you look at the subject matter or the substance of what they have there, they spend like ungodly amounts of time, like Bethesda amounts of time filling their games with content. So most of that 6 years was giving you all the DLCs that others would charge you for. So at least on that, you got to give them credit. And then when it comes to buttoning it up, the last part of that puzzle is buttoning it up for various consoles and profiling and bug checks and but they are again PC first. They always have been. So if they are less than stellar in the console space, you gotta give them some time for that. Now, where I give PlayStation credit is I would not be surprised if their ninjas have been at their door a long time ago, helping them smooth out those wrinkles.
Yeah, that's a good business move.
Whereas Microsoft goes, "Oh, you need help? Let me give you help." It's
sorry, they're
late. It's on Front Street. Like, come
on. All hands on deck with Starfield. That's the problem.
But you see what I'm saying? Yeah, if you need help, the fact that we have to hear that they have an issue means the lines of communication broke down way back when, and it should not have. Microsoft should have been managing this quietly in the background, making sure this thing works.
Am I frozen, Kay? Am I frozen? Do we have a Series S problem on our hands here that we can't have split screen here? What's going on?
See, look at this man. PCMR, PC Gamers Playground, and the man is podcasting from a potato. I'm
sorry. No, man, but seriously, Kay,
you're not podcasting from the ROG Ally, are you?
No. Let me ask you this question, okay? And there I go. I see myself freezing, man. I think that we don't have enough memory here. Again. We ain't got enough memory.
Again. I see you freezing now. I definitely see you freezing now. Yeah,
all right. So let me ask you this question, and if I need to get off and come back on, I will. If it gets too bad,
maybe you just need to turn off your cam and then turn the cam back on again.
All right. Well, let's give that a try. But I got one more question for you, which is might ruffle some feathers, and I don't mean to put you under the fire here, okay? But I have to.
Go ahead. Do your thing. What you got?
In your opinion, is again, it like everything that you've explained to me kind of helps me understand this discussion, like from a better headspace, right? Mm-hmm. Why don't you read that super chat first, and then I'll ask you what I want to.
That is Everborn levels of conspiracy theory, sir. I salute you. BT Maverick 707 with a $5 super chat saying, "Lol." Should Sony start paying for split screen in games instead of paying for timed exclusives? Damn.
Now
that'd be a smart move. Then basically what they're doing is making sure no games work on the series.
Can you imagine these guys? Can you imagine Jim Ryan? All right, we got him now. Hey, put split screen in this game, but Jim, we don't want to do that. It doesn't matter. Just put it in. Here's
money. You don't even have to release it on the console on PlayStation. Just put it.
Just that's it. We found their Achilles heel. It's over.
Ridiculous.
Let me. I'm gonna put you under the gun now. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Obviously, we're PC guys now.
Sure.
We believe that there's a better way than consoles, even though we still appreciate our consoles.
Hey. I take offense to that. I play my consoles all the time.
Of course,
but like having more options.
Right. Well, we're advocates for non-missionary gaming here, but this is the question. Knowing that there's limitations even in the PC space, because eventually you will upgrade to get more performance, so that you can be in a happy place with your gaming setup. Do you believe, from a technical perspective, that Xbox made a mistake by bringing out these two SKUs? Because that's the big debate here. And again, I don't want to throw you here that all of a sudden K is going to get attacked here. I just, we're up front and we need to call it like it is. What do you think, sir, from a technical perspective?
So, no, I don't.
But there's a but here.
Because no. Let me finish. I don't, because this matters in very small spaces. There are people in this world who buy the S. They put it up. I have the S right over there. They put it. They put it to their TV, and they and their friends and their kids have grand old time. This is not a factor in. I
got a 4070 next to use my Series S.
At all, they don't care. It's not a factor. It's awesome. They love it. Kids play it. Adults play it. It's great. Now, here's the but. I have no smoke for the Series S. I think the Series S is awesome. Problem is, before you release this device, you must show me and developers alike why it's worth it. Quick aside. I'm a big Windows guy. I'm a big operating system guy. I have a Mac. I have a PC. I love operating systems. I use iOS. I use Android. It's what I do. Operating systems. I love operating systems. Windows was seen as shit by many people for a long time. Some people still look at it as absolute shit, right? Like, oh, it's bloody cruft and all this old
stuff.
There's
people that swear by Linux because they just think that Windows is a big spy tool.
Absolutely, and in certain respects, they might have a point. You know, like all that, right? But the problem is, in Microsoft's defense, in this whole Windows space, the issue at hand is more complicated than just like that space. Because in Windows, they were very, 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 very like trying to counteract that narrative. All the while, what was happening? Mac was sleek, Apple was smooth. They had commercials literally like not even being sly about it. Y'all suck. That was literally the parlance, right? And everybody would agree because you'd walk in Best Buy and you'd get a Dell, you get an HP, you get an Alienware, you get this, that, you get
Sega does when Nintendo don't.
And by the way, like pro tip, I used to work for one of the companies I just mentioned. I won't tell you which one, but they were all trash.
Gateway. I always try to get you to admit it's Gateway.
They were trash, right? So they were telling Microsoft's narrative for them. You load when Microsoft released Windows 8 or Vista, which was a touchscreen first OS. What did people do? They loaded it onto non-touchscreen devices and went, "This OS sucks." Of course it does. You're using it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right. So what did Microsoft do to stop that? To stop people from mishandling their baby? They released the Surface brand. This is how it should be done. Look at the level of quality.
The standard
hardware. Look at the standard. This is our reference design, right? If you want to make your version, go for it. HP, Dell, Gateway, all those other guys, right? But if you end up making a turd, we won't be blamed for it anymore because this is our reference design, right? Where is your reference design for the Series S? That was a lesson you learned on the PC space a long time ago. Where is your reference design for the Series S? Because it's not up to Larian to tell you a story for you. It's up to you to say, see, this is our version of Miles Morales. This is Hive Busters. Oh, it's about 8-10 hours, but it's a freestanding game, and every single velocity architecture feature has been brought to bear. So look how it shines on the Series S. Oh, we may not have a full enough time to give you that full game experience, but here's an 8-hour demo as a timestamp, just to show you this is its capabilities in case you ever have to wonder.
Yeah. So
that has not happened yet. And until it does, the smoke is all righteous. Microsoft needs to shut up the doubters. And until they shut up the doubters have every right to doubt.
So how do you think, and again, and this is the last question because we're coming up on almost an hour and 45 and we've gone really long today. Pause.
Yes, sir.
This is
what, I fell for that one.
This is what I want to know. And again, I look, it's hard to get out of the console headspace when I've been in that console headspace for 38 years of my life. Ooh. It's hard. Okay. I'm coming up on 40 years old, 41 next, in January. So the Latino heat's got some years in them.
This is hard to get away from. I understand.
Yeah. Okay. Lower the background music a little bit there when you get a chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's popping, isn't it? Okay, continue.
Yeah. So when and I've kind of been in that console headspace this whole night, and I'm glad that you've brought me to kind of understand that it's not an apples to apples comparison here, right? I really thought that when I saw that Xbox was bringing out the Series S and X, I thought that they were doing kind of a 4070 to a 4090 type of deal here. I didn't really think from a hardware limitation that we would be in a predicament here where now Larian is not releasing their game on the Xbox, because they want to wait. I still think it's
that big a deal. It's
no,
not, it really
no, it's not. But it's, and again, it's not.
The mistake you're making here is if we want to compare it, because you're that guy. We're comparing a ROG Ally to your 4070 PC. Now, would you consider a ROG Ally a potato?
No, of course not.
Exactly. But you wouldn't expect the same fidelity on a ROG Ally that you would your PC.
Of course.
Because your PC's for the big boy system, whereas the ROG Ally shines bright on that side screen. Same example for the Series S, but for some reason, everyone wants to keep comparing the Series S to the ROG to the big brother.
That's where I was getting.
It sucks.
That's the point I was trying to make with my final statement here. That's the point. You took the words right out of my mouth. I think that we had an episode earlier where we talked about you get what you pay for. Exactly. Remember that episode?
Exactly. Yes.
So this circles back to when you buy a Series S, you kind of have to know the limitations of the device, and you have to kind of know what to expect, right? But that's being used as fuel.
Well, let's be clear. It's not the limitations of the device. It's the use case of the device. There's a difference, because the limitations denotes a stepladder of quality. That's not what is going on here. It's not there's this one and then higher and then high. No, are you a 4K gamer? Are you about the 4K? We got a box for you. Are you a person who just needs frames instead of the 4K? Do you have a dorm room? You have a small space? We have a box for you there. Are you a hardcore mother effer that needs every frame to be the best it needs to be? Well, we got some PCMR stuff for you as well.
That's what I'm talking about.
This is what they're doing.
Yeah, right? This is their ecosystem. This is their ecosystem. Their
options.
Right. Yes. So I think that, to end on this, I think that you're 100% right. You said it before I could. I think that people need to really just kind of settle down a little bit before you point the finger anywhere, and kind of understand from a big high level picture that it's not always, the hardware that's limiting, these games or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of business decisions that could go into it. It's a lot of different elements that make these companies kind of bring, have them make their choice that they make. At the end of the day, this is something that I like to tell everybody. Do you not think that Larian Studios, if they could release this game on cell phones and across the board to any device that can play it, they would do it? Because they want to make as much green as possible, but they're limited on what their team can get to. They're limited on what they can work on, right? So that's just one of the byproducts, guys. So instead of blaming a certain graphics card or a console, let's first think about this for a second,
If you want to throw some smoke at somebody, throw some smoke at Microsoft. That they deserve the smoke. Why? Because A, go to Larian, help them with the resources they need. Maybe they're doing that. B, show the games running righteous on a Series S so that you can show proof of concept that it's possible. That way, then it's defined and everyone can follow the steps that you define.
I think in
that's where the smoke belongs.
Well, I think in the smoke that you're describing, I think that it's that big cloud is made up by a lot of things, and that's part of it. Larian has a little bit of it. They might not be contributors to the smoke as much as Microsoft, but they've contributed to that smoke.
Oh yeah,
I think it goes around. All right. Okay, I think it was a great discussion.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. Like, we will definitely continue this conversation because I know it'll come back multiple times. Let me say this has been our longest show, almost 2 hours.
For sure.
And it also been the show with the most viewers consistently. We're about 60 viewers right now.
Awesome.
For a small channel with single-digit episodes. This is excellent and amazing, and we appreciate everybody for being here.
Thanks, everyone.
This has been great. And shout out to Mr. John Wolf. I will say that now to the 60 people listening here. This show is a culmination of his thoughts, his mind, his journey through the PC ecosystem. So whenever you hear us talk about these interesting topics about, limitations or VRAM or any of that interesting PC stuff that some of us take for granted, it's because Mr. John Wolf is coming to this brand new, and he comes to me and goes, "Hey, bro, what's going on here? Let's talk about it." You know what I'm saying? So,
and if the show's bad, you could blame me too.
Oh, no. See, I give you all the credit because I sometimes take this for granted because I've been doing this for a while, and you really put a new eyes focused on this interesting place that we like the game. And I appreciate you, sir, for helping me reanalyze some of these things, because it's always good to refresh your knowledge and share that with the community. It's great.
I got you, Jay. And I gotta bring this out at least one time, because there's been plenty of crying going on. Okay, so I'm glad that you were able to kind of reel us back in. Appreciate you.
I will mute you, sir.
You're right, dude.
On that point. Hey. With that, someone get that soundboard away from this man. Anyway. On that note, we're done. We're done for the day. And we see so many great people in the chat. Oh, Mr. Belvedere joins us. Sir, we have to get you on the show, man. We were actually talking about that.
Yep.
Fuzzy, we have to have a conversation, man. You every time we talk, you have such great takes on the PC and all of that stuff. He is definitely a man who needs to have his voice heard on this show as well.
Listen, I gotta be on a follow-up show with Web Dave and Tate Talks, because I gotta bring in some of that Latino heat flavor in there. That show was extra spicy, and I loved it, dude. I loved every second of it. It was great.
Look, it was a show about ideas, and not everyone has to agree, but we held it together. It was great. There was no crazy talk craziness. It was good. It was good. It was fun. We had a good time.
It was awesome.
Yeah. So it's been a great time talking with you, talking all this great PC talk, sir. Tell the fine people where they can keep up with all your slander on these X streets.
X streets, that's right. Twitter, guys. X, Twitter, whatever it's called. John Wolf, exactly how it's spelled there, guys. Hit me up on Steam. On don't hit me up on Epic Games, because I'm not gonna accept your friend invite.
God, this guy right here. This guy.
Nah, just messing around. Hit me up on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, guys. We got Starfield coming up in a few weeks. That's gonna be the talk of the town. As a PC gamer, now I really want to like Baldur's Gate 3, man, and I really want to jump in the waters, but there's just something about that game that's not calling me yet, man.
It is too PC for you.
It might be.
Let's be clear. That might be a question that we need to. That might be a topic for next week's discussion, right? We have been talking so much about PCs giving you an option, right? Hey, when you have the PC, you now have so many ecosystems that you can jump into and all that. But there is a unique snowflake among the PC space. There are the uniquely PC-centric games, which this game falls uniquely into, and it might not necessarily translate so well when consoles get their hands on it.
Yeah, I might be too caveman for this game. Okay.
No. Don't get me wrong. Don't say that.
It's the truth.
Don't say that.
But it's the truth, though.
Well, but like, for a quick example before we go, there are settings on the console, on the PC that you can do. Like let's say you have a party, right? A party of people that you're walking through the world. You can stealth all of them. You can hit one button on the PC and then boom, they're all in stealth. On the console side, so far I haven't been able to, with a controller, I haven't been able to figure out the key combination to do that. So now I have to go to this party, stealth, this party, stealth, this party. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
This is the world. You know what I'm saying? So there are those unique PC things, but why I think you should dip your toe in the water is because when you pass that because that first dip of toe was getting into the PC space in the first place, right? The second toe dip will be when you traverse that divide and actually start broadening your horizons beyond what's capable on console, and you'll be surprised how crazy things can get.
I'm in the layer I think I'm in the layer right now that I just want my console games to run better. That's where I'm at right now.
You just want to facilitate easier console play by using PC hardware, which is also a great lane to be in.
That's the truth.
Stay there. That's fine. Yeah. Certain games are beyond that PC rubric that go a little too far in the different direction. And for now, you're safer in the FPS standard PC console world. I get you. And there's nothing wrong with that.
We'll see if I graduate. But guys,
we'll table this. Let's table this for next week. So where can people find you on X and all those streets before we go?
John Wolf, how it's spelled there, guys. Strike up a conversation. If you could put up with my jokes and my bad post, by all means, and hit me up, guys, on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, anytime you guys want to play. Even Switch, believe it or not, I turn that on sometimes. So definitely not a missionary gamer over here.
I don't share my Switch social security number because I feel like you're going to steal my identity. Anyway, for me, you can find me on Saturdays on the Gaming Circle podcast on this very network. Myself and of course, Mr. Everborn Lush Vacationer will be back by then, and I will ridicule him in public, right to his face, instead of being jealous of his lavish vacation, while he's out there. But of course, beyond that, on Twitter, on PlayStation, on Xbox, all those places, TKO Asante, as you see spelled right there. We appreciate y'all for coming to check us out all the way to the end. We got really a lot of people still in here. It's been a great conversation. This is the type of stuff we want to keep doing. Next week, what are we playing? I hear John Wolf, Mr. Joanna Duck gave us that recommendation.
Wanted. Yep.
You're gonna be playing Wanted. Maybe you play the PS3 version, I'll play the 360 version, or vice versa. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what goes down. But until
PC,
then,
no limitations.
That should be the tagline. PC, no limitations.
Exactly.
Have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Peace.